I just did a video. I went to the city council meeting in Garden City, Colorado last night. I just did that that video, posted it up on YouTube yesterday, and they said we could go in and have a meeting with them. So I went in today. I brought a couple of pieces of paper to the meeting, so we could begin some kind of communication. I did ask them a couple of questions on the paper that I gave them, so we'll see if they answer those. I guess I never asked them to answer them, but I guess I should go over there and ask them. But this is the paper that I gave them. Social Security is a contract in which we voluntarily enter into a uniform commercial code to pay for the bankruptcy of the United States, by which we are forced to taxes on our labors. True or false? Then I said, why were Americans not given full disclosure of the details of this process? Why weren't we taught the history behind the bankruptcy? John Jay, who was Supreme Court judge, said in his opinion in 1793, sovereignty devolved on the people, and they are truly the sovereigns of the country, with no one to govern but themselves. If that was true, then by which process did we go from being sovereign of the country to being subject of the country? Was it the Social Security card and birth certificate that Edward Mandell House and George Washington talked about? The 13th Amendment, no more slavery or involuntary servitude. By what process are we having to serve the government? Why is legal language hard to understand? Why is there only one guy, namely Don Hoff, who is Garden City attorney, who tells us the interpretation of what the language says? Thomas Jefferson. Rightful liberty is unobstructed action according to our will within the limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. I do not add within the limits of law, because law is often but the tyrant's will, and often so when it violates the rights of the individual. And these laws that this country has are definitely violating my rights. I believe that you are fraudulently telling us what to do. I believe you are operating and perpetuating fraud by using coercion to force your will upon us, because you never taught us the Social Security card and birth certificate process. We want everything to be brought to the light, as I have done with you and have always tried to reason. I believe Jesus when he said, woe unto you lawyers, that's you, Don Hoff, for you have taken the key of knowledge. You entered in, not yourselves, and them that were entering in you hindered. I did not hire or elect Don Hoff to be my king. I believe common sense says that we cannot be subject to a language or a legal system that only one guy is qualified to know and tell us what it means. So that was one paper I gave them. I think there was a little bit more on that. I think I added one more sentence, but anyway, then I gave them the Edward Mandell House quote. That's who I gave one of the council members. I think I gave it to both of them. I gave Lonelle that paper I just read, plus the two quotes, one from George Washington, one from Edward Mandell House, and then I gave the other one, council member, just the two quotes from George Washington and Edward Mandell House. But anyway, the George Washington quote says, but if in the pursuit of the means we should unfortunately stumble again on unfunded paper money or any other similar species of fraud, we shall assuredly give a fatal stab to our national credit in its infancy. Paper money will invariably operate in the body of politics as spirit liquors enter on the human body. They prey on the vitals and ultimately destroy them. Paper money has had the effect in your state that it will ever have to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and to open the door to every species of fraud and injustice. And then, of course, I said the Edward Mandel House quote. Very soon, every American which is very soon every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel the people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer being unable to work or earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secure transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us profit. They will be none the wiser, for not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans. And if by accident one or two should figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund governments, by floating liens and debts to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. Wow, what a fraud. This will inevitably reap to us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur in this manner. Every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. So that's what I handed at the meeting with Lonelle, the mayor of Garden City, and also one of the city council members. That's what I gave them. And so now it's on to the next plan, which is I'm trying so hard to educate them that this is a fraud and that they are perpetuating fraud on a personal level. If they personally have the knowledge and they personally make a decision to continue perpetuating this fraud over me, then they are guilty of personally fraudulently holding power and making me serve their will when there is no agreement and there is no contract, which is a Social Security card. You know, just study this out. I mean, this is common sense. You know, go to Google, type in Edward Mandel House. Very soon every American will be required to register their biological property. Type that in Google, it'll pop right up and you'll see. Start researching this banking system and how we are slaves to these international bankers and their fiat currency. It's Babylon and the idols and images of Babylon. You know, the images being the capital letter name, the birth certificate, social security card, which give power to their idols, which is fiat currency, because they counterfeit it. And we agreed to the system, and we're all in agreement. But now that I'm out of agreement, I no longer have a contract, I'm no longer signing my signature. Common sense says that, and this is kind of what I'm going to say to them on my next letter, I believe that for me to give my rights over to another man or entity, there has to be a contract. I believe that the birth certificate and social security card and other bankrupted and all other bankrupted and banker-controlled government contracts are what gives you the power over me. I believe that when I signed those documents, I was given my rights over to you, and then I was given privileges like a slave through this contract. I am no longer in contract. So I want an understanding between me and them that I'm not in contract. I don't want part of their bankruptcy. I think I have that choice. We have a choice. We don't have to partake in the bankruptcy. What is that if we don't have a choice? That's slavery. That's been abolished years ago. So that's what I'm going to present to them this next time. So anyway, keep in tune, try to share it with all your friends. We need to take down the fraud, find some other bold people in your community, and let's go to these city council meetings and let's start speaking out and voicing out this fraud, because they cannot have power over us. They cannot tell us what to do, because our laws are higher than their laws. Our laws say that you cannot borrow on the expense of your children. And our law says that if somebody's going to sign something, you got to tell them what they're signing, and they're not telling us. So they're breaking our law. But their law is corrupt. Their legal system makes law illegal. That's sorcery. They're operating in sorcery. So our law says that gold and silver is money. That means that when you run out of gold and silver, you have to simply wait till you get more gold and silver. You don't just print more fake money to fund something when at the expense of your neighbor's child, so you can continue, helping people. You got to get that man's consent. Well, is it okay if I suck your son dry and borrow money at the expense of your children and your labors? That was never disclosed to us. Nobody told us that. They simply offered us benefits, and so people are brainwashed like a pickpocket. The pickpocket's flattering them and taking their focus off what's really going on, and that is taking your rights. Simple. Common sense.